streets will be darkened and our spirits will be tortured under these materialized capitalism. So I will ask you a question, and I want you to answer this question individually. Are we the peoples of 192 United Nations, or are we going to be the free slaves of one developed capitalist country, which is America? It is not happy country, it is killer country, which is killing 191 nations. Thank you.
Very naturally, young and emotional hearts find equal work, equal food, equal education, theoretical expressions very immense, but the same hearts also find it very sympathetic to life beyond or teleportation. However, all theoreticals cannot be successful. Socialism is similar actually. It may seem logical in theoretical, but in real life, it has always failed and couldn't bring happiness to people. In the history of humanity, a lot of countries tried to implement socialism. They failed. They couldn't provide equality. In addition to this, they established a bureaucratic class. The only things they shared were poverty, less technology, and less prosperity. In recent history, we can see that the socialism's locomotive country, Russia, couldn't provide even world standard welfare to their people. First, in their foreign policy, after their internal affairs had a very capitalistic approach. They explained their policy as more freedom, more productions, and more democracy. Till 1989, Berlin was separated into Western capitalists and Eastern socialists. It was prohibited to go over Western Germany or other capitalist countries from Eastern Germany, while going outside of the country or to the Eastern Berlin was allowed in West capitalist and freedom-based Germany. It's simply because the socialist executives were very scared that their citizens would not come back to their homeland from the capitalist countries with the perfect environment of freedom and welfare. In the time, the Berlin Wall was bounded by Eastern Socialist Germany, and they killed and locked in jail whoever wants to run away from the socialist system. Even nowadays, the socio-economic difference between East and West Germany exists. Eastern Germany has an approach that ignores the differences between people and has sameness. West Germany has technology and aesthetic improvement. Thank you.
Now, you will summarize your topic. Because you are the chief.
Now we are going to show you what is capitalist system by actually a trial. Now I'm inviting Yaren, my friend Yaren and Turkey. My friend Yaren is going to be judge, and Öykü is going to be Elizabeth Carter, which the child of a family. That family is a company about international trading, and they are so close to politicians at the government. Now we are going to just watch the justice of capitalist system. At a night on 22nd May 2008, as I mentioned, a child of the family, which owns a company about international trading, is killed a young man by car when she was drunk. And that young man, despite the hard efforts were made by the doctors, is died after 14 hours from the accident. Family of this young man went to law, of course. On the other hand, the rich family of the man which was driving the car drunk tried to cover it up. Let's take care of these sentences. They tried to cover it up because they are rich family. They have the right. They have the right because they have money. And here is the consequences of this trial.
We decided, Elizabeth, to judge without arrest.
You can do that again.
No, just okay. We decided, Elizabeth, to get judged without arrest.
Here is the consequences of justice in the capitalist system. There is law, but there is no justice. Like there are rules, but there are no actions actually. You didn't hear the voices of judge because actually in capitalism, in capitalist systems, as I mentioned, there is no justice. We are just hearing and we are just looking at the law, but there is actually no system like this. Thank you. Now, Miss Elif, the music will go on, but while I'm trying to explain these two pictures. And we can play the music. Yes, here we are at the bank. And here is the capitalist system. There is a triangle actually. And that triangle is separating the people into the classes. Wealthy classes, politicians, men of church, or mostly it doesn't matter, religious, and soldiers of government. And here we are looking at the workers' class. They're at the base of this triangle. And the core of this triangle is based on greed and money. The more we get money, the more we will have rights actually. And at the capitalist system, as I mentioned, there is no justice. We are seeing the workers' class is actually getting 50 years punishment, and the justices cannot enter the walls of capitalism because it's protected by money. And here we are going to look at the socialist system. It is what we are protecting and what we are defending. It is socialist system. Whoever or whatever you are, you will, for example, you killed a man, you will get punishment. Whoever or whatever you are, how much money you have. It is what we are defending. We are not saying socialism is the best, but it is far more better than the capitalist system. Because there has to be justice. If there is no justice, there is no mean to be a human in this world. Because we are improving the world, we are trying to do something, but actually, besides that, we are creating wars, we are creating civil wars, and everything. And here we are listening to music. The music's name is I Hate the Capitalist System.
Capitalists not for workers like me. Well now, what can we do about it? To these men of power and might. Well, I tell you, Mr. Capitalist, we are going to fight, fight, fight.
Thank you again.
Before my final speech, I'd like to correct some points on our opponent's arguments. First of all, once again, we'll give the example of North Korea. Men can only have one specific haircut, or the Hollywood movies are not, they are prohibited. So is this democracy? Come on. And we cannot argue about Karl Marx's quotes, because the capitalism he was talking about has ended in 1930. And in addition to that, we'd like to once again remind you that Scandinavian countries are not socialist, they are socio-economist countries. That means they are actually capitalists, but with a social approach. Yes, they are in the top 10 countries because they are actually capitalists. And we would like to remind you that this is not a school theater, this is a real debate about a real issue. And lastly, you may not like socialism, tell it to your iPhones, tell it to your brand watches, and tell it to your Harley Davidson shoes. Now for my real speech. Honorable jury, dear participants and dear friends. Do you own a smartphone? Do you like Starbucks or eat from Burger King? We know you do. All of us do. But the real question is, could you be happy without them? 76% of people in our school, teachers, students, said they cannot be happy without them. Without the opportunities that capitalism provides to public. 100% of them said they'd rather living in the US than North Korea. Even now, can you support socialism with your Harley Davidson shoes or New Balance shoes on? Capitalism brings welfare, democracy and freedom, while socialism brings nothing but poverty, pressure and dictatorship. For the wellness of the society, the development, a better world and a better future, while socialism is state ownership of human beings. Pick one. Thank you. Now we'd like to show you a short video about the arguments of Milton Friedman, who is an economist with a Nobel Economy Prize. Thank you.
When you see around the globe the maldistribution of wealth, the desperate plight of millions of people in underdeveloped countries, when you see so few haves and so many have-nots, when you see the greed and the concentration of power within, did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy. The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade. If you want to know where the masses are worst off, it's exactly from the kinds of societies that depart from that. So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear. That there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by free enterprise.
But it seems to reward, not virtue, as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think the communist commissar rewards virtue? Do you think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? You know, I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us. Well, I don't even trust you to do that.
Now you can ask questions each other.
Okay. Can you please explain us, if socialism is a happy system, then why the capitalist country citizens do not immigrate to a socialist country, but they actually do?
Here's the answer. Capitalism created a demon called money to be a more specific dollar. Of course, if you have money, you can be happy, but what about the poor people in capitalist systems? In socialist system, everybody is happy because everybody is equal. Yeah, and what about the people, poor people living in capitalist countries?
Actually, in socialism, everybody is poor. But in capitalism, there's rich and not rich, or less rich. But the governments, and the capitalist governments are usually social governments, and they are trying to decrease the number of poor people, and capitalist countries have a good economy. They have an income. They can provide an income equality. However, in socialist system, they cannot even, like, there's no such thing like income inequality or equality, because they don't have a specific income. They don't have a specific economy. They're all poor, and they are all not happy. For example, nowadays in Cuba, even in Cuba, the most communist and socialist country in the world, women are used as sex slaves, and they are taking tourist money for sex. And this is how Cuba introduced themselves to money and capitalism.
Do you know lately how many Cuban people died while immigrating to USA, the most capitalist country with little growth, and why?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you know lately how many Cuban people died while immigrating to USA, the most capitalist country with little votes, and why?